At the Capitol in Santa Fe, as in state houses across the country, there is a debate over how best to address problems with gun violence. Is it a gun access issue, a mental health issue, and are lawmakers serious about it or just paying attention to the news? Well, here to start our conversation, editor of the New Mexico Law Review, Sophie Martin, is here. From the Waite Company Public Relations and former communications director for Heather Wilson's campaign, very pleased to welcome Christopher Sanchez. Chris, good to see you.
Thank you.
First time here, I love it. Former U.S. Commerce Department official Jamie Estrada is back with us. And we always like it when Deputy Chief of Staff for Governor Bill Richardson, Eric Witt, he is back with us as well. Eric, stay right there. I'm going to start with you. When there are headlines about an issue like the ones we saw going into the session, how is that impactful on lawmaking? Right? That whole emotional thing that carries into a session, is it that impactful with lawmakers, or do they have the ability to step back a little bit and see this with a little more clarity?
It tends to be that impactful. You know, you get single issue bills like a Megan's Law or something like that. When these kind of incidents occur, obviously what happened in Newtown, then unfortunately what happened here in Albuquerque is going to drive the debate. And then the question becomes, since we have such a limited time in the session, do they have time to actually consider effective legislation or even get anything done just in that short period of time? The gun debate's a little different because it's been around for a while. I mean, this isn't a new topic, unfortunately, but it has definitely focused attention like no other session I've seen in a long time.
Interesting, Eric. I'm wondering, in this idea of gun rights ownership stacked up against the need to protect the public, what's your thought there? Are we on the right track here with what we've got going in Santa Fe at this point? We've got everything from a bill to carry guns inside liquor and restaurant establishments. The other side looking at background checks, some things all over the place. Where are we in your view on this?
Clearly, I think we have a gun problem, and we can't continue to stick our heads into the sand because that's what we've been doing, and that's not working. So I do think that the bill by Miguel Garcia is a good starting point. I think we do need to keep guns out of the hands of criminals and those who are mentally ill. But also, I think in a larger debate, we need to start talking about mental illness in this country and start having a conversation about it. Why is it that we tend to shun our neighbor who might be manic depressive, yet 2 houses down we might have a neighbor who has a heart condition, and we treat them differently, yet they're both illnesses? And I think we just need to do a better education for the public and educate them on mental illnesses, how to spot them, and just so they have a better understanding of them.
You're saying on that point about spotting potential problems, I appreciate you bringing that up, because talking with our 3 psychiatrists that came in from UNM here with us in the show tonight, you know, it's difficult, even for clinicians and professionally trained people, to know when that moment might be. And so there's a civil liberties issue as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you don't want to be too intrusive, but you need to know. Yeah. As Eric's pointing out here, it's tough to balance.
It is tough to balance, and I think it is tough for those that are around the mentally ill, whether it's teachers or administrators in schools or anybody else that's, you know, coworkers. You know, how do you report somebody? How do you target? You know, that creates a whole different level of I don't know, kind of an invasion of privacy, I guess, if you will. But it's something I think that we need to have those outlets in order to be able to get help to the people that need it.
Right.
And be able to have that recognition that we're capable of addressing mental health issues to prevent the kind of issues that, you know, including gun violence.
What you're describing, Jamie, is a massive change in cultural attitudes.
It does.
These things.
Yeah.
I mean, what you just said there almost feels like a generation-long, Sophie Martin, a generation-long change.
I think that's true. I think that's true. I think, though, that we do ourselves a disservice if we focus only on mental health issues. Clearly, those are a big issue for our country. They have been. I mean, Lady Bird Johnson talked about, you know, Mrs. Carter talked about mental health issues. This is not the first time this has come up in this country, and it's not the first time we've tried to address it. I think, though, that we do ourselves a big disservice if we pretend that even a significant amount of gun violence is committed by people with mental health issues. That's just not the case. The vast majority of gun crimes are committed by people who can be tried as sane individuals, who can be put into prison. There's an incredible epidemic of suicide by gun that we see in this country, and we have a tendency, I think, to think, oh, so-and-so killed themselves, they must be mentally ill. But that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. That's
right.
We post-diagnose, because you did this, you must be ill. We have a much larger problem with guns in this country, and I think now we're starting to get better data, more information. You know, one of the things that really struck me this week, U.S. Game and Fish reported that only 6% of Americans are actually hunters. So we talk about, oh, I need to have my gun to go out hunting. More people fish in this country, more people bird watch than shoot birds. Like, why do we work so hard for that 6% of the hunters when we have this much larger number that admits, I'm using it to turn my home into some sort of castle? And then we have the castle doctrine to protect them.
Sure. Keep calling you Eric. Chris, another question for you, and then another one for Eric. A little bit of time here. New idea has come since Newtown, and that is the idea of insurance, liability insurance for gun owners. Meaning if you lose your gun, lose in quotation, stolen, whatever the case may be, and something happens down the road with that gun, there's some liability. The idea is a better job at locking up your firearms, putting gun locks on. What do you think of that? Would that move people enough in your view?
I'm not sure if having liability insurance is really going to get people to do that, but I do think that gun owners need to start doing their due diligence and keeping their guns in a safe, putting gun locks onto their guns and keeping them away from their children and also people who might do harm to others. So I definitely think it's gun owners have to have more responsibility over there, and a lot of people do. I mean, my stepfather owns guns, but he keeps them in a safe, and I think that more people should follow suit.
Sure. Very quickly, we're a little bit out of time. Do you agree with that? Is liability insurance a potential answer here?
It's a potential answer.
Yeah.
I agree with what Chris is saying. I call it the Spider-Man rule. With great power comes great responsibility, and guns give you great power. And I think there should be elements of training, of responsibility, securing your weapon, verification, whether it's through background checks or whatever. I agree with what Sophie said. The larger issue is we need to have all gun owners, not just those mentally ill, recognize the reality of what they're engaging with.
It's a difficult one to wrestle to the ground. We certainly can't do it in 5 minutes, but I appreciate your thoughts on that. In a moment, a panel of mental health professionals talks about why we see so many young people involved in gun violence and what might be behind their actions.